as the library director previously indicated to us, the little libraries cost estimate of $435 for 3 of them. Ms. Clark and I put a significant amount of effort and time into this, and we've brought the shop teacher from the high school on board. White Creek Lumber is willing to sell us their materials at cost. So we've pared it down to as little amount of money as we can. I'd like to thank Mr. Clark for his donation of $100. He's not aware he made it, but you're welcome. And I also understand that the city manager made a donation to that.
Thank you.
But we are seeking additional donations, and anything we get above $435, I'm sure the library can use.
And Becky Collier did $25 from the library board.
Okay. A couple other things I added into the agenda. These are from today. Website security. A week or two back, we did lose control of the website for a day or two. I heard rumors that maybe there were some unsavory pictures posted on our website at that time. So we've beefed up security. I've been working with our website person to make sure that this doesn't happen again. But what I added to your packet is just some numbers regarding what we actually deal with on a weekly basis in regards to website security. And you'll see top 10 IPs blocked. Number 1 attempted to attack our website 971 times in 1 week. The top countries attempting to hack into our website: U.S. 2,699 attempts in 1 week. I assume IN is India 488. CZ I assume is Czech Republic 452, etc., etc. So you do see that this is not one person attempting to break into our website. And security is very important, and we take it seriously, but sometimes you can't do something about it. So. Next thing on the agenda, the new paid time off personnel policies. We continue to work on it. Senior staff has had meetings this week trying to polish it and make sure that it's working together. I want to take another look at that and see if there are any additional questions this month. But we're plowing forward, and I think I'll bring it back next time for a vote. So does anybody have any comments at this time regarding these personnel policies? Looks good.
I support that. I don't think if you want time off, whether you have an open heart surgery or paint in the garage, it's your time and you earned it. I don't know if you've looked at different cities to see how they're working. You probably have an MML and so forth, but I fully support this paid time off.
Yeah, we have compared it to both private and public sector, and it's about in line with what other people who are doing this type of policy.
There's a lot of data that says people are more productive when they take time off.
I know I'm very productive after my trip down to see Mickey Mouse.
Or the upcoming Iceland.
I'm sorry?
Or your upcoming Iceland trip.
Possibly. I have to get some vacation time for that, but that's a different story. So, obviously, if anyone has any questions about it during the month, they can approach me and we can discuss it off the record.
How's staff feeling about it? You guys like it?
We're all going about it.
I do.
Would the record reflect that I see some nodding heads to affirm consent to the fact that they are approval of it? Okay. And the last thing I added there was the Planning Commission approved the master plan. The reason I'm bringing it to you guys is because there is some confusion in the past in what the city has done. Now, under the Zoning Enabling Act, the Planning Commission is the natural body to approve the master plan. However, I looked back through the history of the resolutions for the City Council, and at some point the City Council did approve the master plan, but that requires specific intent from the City Council to do that. So not being able to find that specific intent anywhere in the past, what I recommended to the Planning Commission to do was for them to simply approve it on their own authority. And this body can do one of three things. They can do nothing, which would keep in place what the Planning Commission did. They can support the Planning Commission with a motion to support what the Planning Commission did. Or they could try to tell the planning commission that what they did was wrong, and that this body thinks that they need to approve the master plan. So I would recommend either doing nothing or making a motion in support of the planning commission.
Michael, are the corrections that we discussed or that was discussed by planning commission, are those in the process of being corrected?
Yes, the only thing that was approved was the substantive part of the master plan. The minor issues like the rendering of the new library, that's a drawing picture, that's not substantive. So everything else has been taken care of and was approved by the planning commission.
And the new park is going to be the new legacy park will be
Correct.
added?
It'll be in there.
Do you have a preference of if we make a motion to have planning commission do it, or if we just do nothing?
No, it's really, I guess, a decision of this body whether they want to show support or just leave it be.
I support it with the corrections, and I did find another correction today that I thought was kind of odd, and that at the corner of Muskegon and Main Street, there's a blue square that's considered public property, but it's actually where the church is.
Is that a land use map, or is it,
It's public or quasi-public.
So that's,
I had the same discussion with the mayor earlier today,
okay.
And
there's the big
all
square.
the churches are colored blue.
Oh, are they?
The public, right?
Oh, okay. All right, the Methodist Church.
Closet public, I mean, they're open to the public?
So
Is that the right?
I'm assuming that
Kind
that's
of a
what,
generic type.
Or a nonprofit is a,
I don't know what quasi-public means. so.
Yeah, I didn't know.
I'm gonna go with nonprofit.
Anybody can go.
Anybody can be there. Although I guess churches can kick people out.
Yeah, but you still go there and get kicked out.
Well, that would be an unfortunate.
Well,
Anyway.
let's keep our eye on the ball.
But
So,
we can do that, like legally, like we can't say you can't be at City Hall.
so the
Like-
issue before this body is whether anybody would like to make a motion to support or if we just want to move on.
I had a question. I thought perhaps they could put a more recent rendering of the new library instead of the,
And that issue was discussed at length at the planning commission.
We
and
drop
was
it in.
approved as part of the planning commission motion.
perfect.
There were several changes made that evening, and Mr. Edatini was busy typing.
So here
I
we
know
go.
that we approved the work of the planning.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to support the master plan as printed by the planning commission. Any further discussion?
Thank them for all the work.
Okay. Hearing none. Roll call vote. Mr. Clark.
Yes?
Ms. Conlon.
Yes.
Mr. Groves.
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Nixon.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Hall. Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And just so everybody knows, we have 20 minutes to get through the rest of this because I promised.
That's
you all
right.
we would.
Okay, moving on to action items. Housekeeping.
Yes, so this first resolution, 2017-07, is one I believe we pass every year, and it was added by Madam Clerk.
So will the council.
Move that we approve resolution number 2017-07. Second.
It's been moved and second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes?
Mrs. Conlon.
Yes.
Mrs. Nixon.
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins.
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes.
Yes.
Ms. Hall votes yes. Motion carries. We have another housekeeping issue for item B. Manager Womack.
Trying to scroll to where my notes are, but it's a similar thing. It's something that
It's election
we do
commission.
for every election, and Madam Clerk considered it. Madam Clerk, do you have anything to say about it?
No, this is just in place of you guys appointing the election inspectors because that is the responsibility of the commission. You guys have already appointed the commission. This is a resolution to affirm that.
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to approve resolution 2017-08 to appoint the 2017 election commission.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote. Mr. Gross.
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins. Yes. Mrs. Conley.
Yes.
Mrs. Nixon.
Yes.
Mr. Clark.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Ms. Holmes, yes. Item C, approval of general fund, would you care to speak to that?
Sure.
Excuse me.
So, from what I understand, the previous administration didn't appropriately apply GASB 54 and city policy in regards to setting aside certain monies within the fund balance. We did have some money that was set aside for, I believe, a fire truck and a couple other things. So, the finance director put together a little sheet of money that she believes was supposed to be set aside as restricted funds. And so I did put a model motion there, it's highlighted in yellow on page 4 of the manager's report. Motion to direct the finance director to make her April 5th recommended changes in the fund balance designations in compliance with GASB 54 and city policy. And if you have any questions, Ms. Falcon is sitting right there.
So,
What's the will of the council?
To make a motion to approve general fund balance designation.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Mrs.
so to make sure that I understand correctly, Ms. Falcon, this is money that was supposed to be earmarked and through whatever error was just put into general fund and was not earmarked, so now we're taking it back out of general fund and earmarking it as was intended. Correct. Very good.
Everybody understand?
Mayor, so the money that's assigned here, especially for the fire department items, that's money that is only assigned that if the council decided it wanted to take that money and do something else with it, we could. See, Marty, that's exactly what I'm thinking. I don't want to have it so touchable.
Go ahead.
Well, but, this, in your packet, there's the City of Cedar Springs fund balance policy that was adopted August 11th, 2011. The definition of assigned says the designee of the city council. The assignment of those funds may come from the city council.
Yes.
And restricted, you have to look at the definitions of each category. Restricted fund balance, the portion of fund balance is restricted due to external limitations placed on the use of the funds.
So that'd be like if the state said.
Correct.
Need a certain portion.
Correct. Yeah, where the fire department's money, you control it, so you couldn't, that fire money couldn't be restricted.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a follow-up question? So to clarify, I think maybe to piggyback on this, when we earmark X amount in for a truck every year, and I can't remember what that amount is, but we have an amount that we put in for a truck every year, we would have to vote if we wanted to remove it.
Correct.
So it goes in there unless 4 of us on council specifically vote to remove it.
Restricted funds would be the debt money we have to pay to repay a loan. That would be a restriction.
As opposed to the more general, which would get swept out at the end of every year.
It does, correct.
But the last couple of years, that the money left over at the end of the fiscal year went into that unrestricted fund balance pot at the top, instead of being assigned or restricted or.
But to clarify, I think if I'm understanding you correctly, Mr. Clark, your concern is that even, you're looking for something even more restrictive, that if we say to Marty, you get X amount for this truck, that we can't come back a year later and say, just kidding, we're taking it away for this other thing. But I think there is no more restrictive other than if it's already spent. Am I correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Because welcome to city council.
But the last, like I said, the last couple of years, like the turnout gear, that was 2 years of $10,000 per year.
Right.
Hadn't been put into this assigned category.
Even though Marty did a very thorough job, as I recall, of coming to us with these are the things that I need allocated, over this time frame because this is what they cost, which was amazing and wonderful.
So this is a big improvement over where we were.
Well, it's just cleaning up.
Cleaning up.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it wasn't implemented. It wasn't
Yeah.
implemented in that specific. And on the protections,
Okay,
the way it was previously, we could almost spend it accidentally without, I mean, not
Without knowing.
without, we could be eating into that budget without realizing it, where if it's completely earmarked, we would actually have to take a vote to remove it.
Right.
what's the will
So
of
it
the
is more
council?
protected.
Will of the council.
I have to get back to my motion. I make a,
Yeah, motion.
And a second, this is discussion.
okay.
We're just, regular vote.
Okay, any other further
Call it-
discussion?
Dan called the question.
Yep, thank you. Mr. Clark,
Yes?
Mrs. Conlon,
Yes.
Mr. Rhodes,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins. Yes. Ms. Nixon.
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Ms. Hall votes yes, thank you. Moving on to B.
I wish Ms. Falcon stayed at the podium.
Yeah.
That's hers as well.
The next two items.
Not far away. So tonight, this is just an introduction of the 2017-2018 budget. I think your next agenda item is setting a workshop to go into this budget in much more detail. This is part of the charter requirement that you introduce the budget and set a public hearing. So just real briefly, I wanted to hit each fund so we know where the revenues and expenses are proposed for each fund. Starting with the general fund, we're looking at revenues in the amount of $1,678,100. That's a 3% increase from the current fiscal year. That's a good thing. However, our expenses have increased 3% as well. The net there is $1,703. That would go into fund balance, or this is a preliminary budget, and I have, at the end, I will mention a few things, some numbers that I just found out this week. So this will for sure not be the final budget that we're presenting tonight. Millage rate, this budget was put together assuming we levy the same 15.0642 mills that we're currently levying for operations. The street funds, Major Street and Local Street, that's your gas and weight tax. That's the revenue that goes to the street funds. A little increase in the street funds this year, that's good. That was legislation passed through the governor's budget. The streets funds will increasingly get a little bit more money, I believe up until 2020. But, so for Major Street, we're looking at $220,100, and Local Street, $108,000. It's a 4% increase on the Major Street side and 3% increase on the Local Street side. But as you can see, what's left there, the net in each fund, $45 or $2,645, we're just kind of in a maintenance mode. It's still not enough to do
To fix,
any major
to really
road
fix
repair.
what we need to do.
Yeah. Refuse pickup and disposal, this, I think we need to have some pretty good discussion at the workshop regarding this fund. We have levied .38 mills for the last 6 years. All this money covers is brush pickup twice a year and leaf pickup in the fall. And as you can see, this year, our proposed budget does not balance. We're out of balance by $885. So we have some options, but I think we need to discuss that at the workshop. The library budget, I was new to this piece this year. We didn't do anything with a library budget where I came from, but I worked with Donna and Becky Paul from the library board. Some of the numbers, honestly, it's a guess because we don't have the history in a new building to know what the costs are, but we did increase the utility costs and water sewer usage just due to the size of the building. So that we'll kind of be watching that as the fiscal year goes on and make adjustments as necessary there. General obligation fund, bond debt fund. this fund exists only because you have debt right now where your tax dollars have to make that payment. By law, you have to transfer that money to a general obligation bond debt fund, and then the check is actually cut out of that fund.
And our next bond falls off in 2018?
Don't have that number here, but I can have it for the workshop.
Could you?
Yeah.
That's something we probably need to look at too going forward on the fire bond. That would be good information to have in our heads.
Sure.
I feel like there's one in 2018 and I feel like there's one in 2020. But
There's a table in our audit. It wouldn't be hard to find
Yeah.
with the schedule.
Mr. Mayor would know probably more than.
Yeah, there's a major street one dropping off. The utility for the wastewater plant, but then there's a new one that comes back.
And then wasn't the one for the cleanup for the where the heart of Cedar Springs is? That was bonded, wasn't it? Wasn't that all part of rolled into a?
Could be. That, I don't remember.
How about we,
We'll get that info.
We'll get that info. Yeah,
Sure.
that would be amazing.
When we get close to 8:30.
Next fund we have is the sewer fund.
The mayor's couldn't turn into a pumpkin.
On the sewer fund, we have revenue in the amount of $1,355,200. That is a 26% increase over the current year. However, when we were putting the budget together, some expenses increased as well. The sludge disposal contract that we have, that company went out of business. We're trying to secure another company. Unfortunately, the contract that we had was a pretty good one, so we're going to be paying more for that sludge disposal. Our contract with Infrastructure Alternatives has increased. The new bond payment for the USDA bond, that's a project we just finished. That comes on our books this year, and we have budgeted capital outlay items in the amount of $70,000. So all of those additional expenses, this proposed budget is out of balance as well by $155,678. You do have some reserves there that you could transfer from fund balance to make this budget balance. So
That 70,000 is the wish list that was at the bottom that we didn't
Yeah,
get to
it's-
post the USDA?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's 3 items that make up the 70,000. On the water fund, we have revenue in the amount of $687,250. That's a 17% increase over the current year. We do have some increased expenses as well in the water fund. Leaves us a balance of $16,000. A little misconception, the council has to approve a balanced budget. So when you actually approve the budget, you're going to see a net of 0, whether you're transferring money from fund balance or putting money into fund balance. Last year's budget was balanced with a transfer of $36,070 from fund balance. So just cautioning you, if you keep borrowing money from fund balance just to pay your current bills,
That's a
ouch. Yeah.
You're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Motor vehicle equipment fund. This one was difficult this year. I had a pretty good conversation with the city manager on this one. Because we had such a mild winter this past year, our trucks were not out plowing and salting and so on and so forth. The use of our vehicles is how the equipment fund gets money. It saves the Major Street and Local Street fund, so we can use that money for other things. But, you know, are we going to have this, I'm told, was not a typical winter, so I kind of budgeted similar revenue for next year where we're back to a typical winter, where the street funds will be giving the equipment fund more money because the vehicles will be out plowing and salting and so on and so forth. So, little tricky one, but there is $296,000 in fund balance there, so if we needed to transfer some from fund balance, we could. But that one right now, Mr. Stressman is proposing that we purchase a new plow truck, which we need, and I suggested to him, we don't have the cash to buy it outright, if we could finance it over 5 years and then make 1/5 payment every year. Even doing that, we're still $44,000 out of balance. So we can have some more discussion at the budget workshop on that too.
Is the one we have, will it last 5 years?
Oh, yeah, that's, actually, I didn't realize it, but the Sterling, which is our newest large-size truck, that was financed. And it was just paid off this year, or will be paid off next year? I didn't realize, I thought we owned it, but that was on a 10-year
Loan.
loan.
Uh,
We could finance it longer.
Yeah.
No, my question is, the one we have, will it keep working for 5 years, so we basically allocate the money?
No,
No, okay,
no, we're replacing a 1999 International.
okay. That was my question.
And the last fund, our perpetual care fund, any city that has a cemetery, part of the fee when you purchase a lot goes for perpetual care. We might make $3,300 in revenue a year on that. So all the funds put together, we're looking at $4,660,950 in revenue and $4,825,928 in expenses.
Close.
And the third page I put in the packet was the capital outlay items per fund. So we can discuss each one of these in detail at the workshop as well.
Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Can I just mention quickly the items that we just kind of found out about this past week? Our health insurance, we participate with West Michigan Health Insurance. It's a pool. Many cities and municipalities are part of that. Our rate increase for health insurance this year is 6.3%. That's
Average.
not bad.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
it works.
Yeah, several years of double-digit increases in health insurance. We just received our final dollar amount on our Michigan Municipal League liability and property insurance. That's pooled insurance. Our increase is $2,100, so I need to spread that to the appropriate departments.
Is that because we had a claim, or is that?
No,
It just went, just universal?
contents increased,
Got it. Oh,
size of the building.
Our city is more valuable. Well, there you go. That's cool.
Another one was,
Worth every penny, by the way.
sure. Marty came to me last week, and there was an invoice that he didn't realize was increasing. We budgeted $7,200. It needs to be $10,000. So there will need to be some adjustments before we approve the final budget in May. So if you can set the public hearing for the next meeting, that would be great. According to the city charter, the budget has to be approved at the May 11th council meeting.
So, we need to set the
Budget.
first public hearing for May 11th, and then we would need to also set a budget workshop, correct?
Need the workshop before the public hearing, right?
Well,
Yes.
we definitely need that. So between then and the 11th, we need to pick a day or evening for the budget workshop. Any ideas?
I believe Ms. Newland has some dates.
Put it in your packet.
Ms. Falcon and I have discussed, that I emailed you guys out, there's 6 potential dates we decided, if you guys would like to do those dates. April 17th, 18th, 19th, or May 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, with our preference of April 19th.
The May dates were 3, 4, 5?
2, 3, 4.
We have a planning commission meeting on the 2nd?
Yes.
Isn't there an election on the 2nd?
Yes, there is.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, can we have that here while you're having
We go
an
back
election?
to the 19th. How does April 19th sound for everyone?
What days are those falling?
It's a
That is
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
I have a Renaissance Fair Committee meeting that day.
In the evening?
Yes.
Okay, how's the 18th work?
The 18th, I have,
That's a Tuesday?
that first week of May works better for me. Next week, for a personal.
The 17th, we go back to it, I believe I have a planning commission meeting with another
location, but.
Sounds like April's out. Okay, we go back to
May,
May 2, 3, or 4.
well, 2 is not good for you, right? So 3 or 4.
4 would probably be the best for everyone.
I can do either one of those. Because, I mean, we're doing in the,
Ms. Clark,
Evening.
4th work for you?
Either one, 3 or 4.
Mrs. Powell?
3 or 4.
I can do 3 or 4 as long as they're after school.
Mr. Grove?
Name one of them.
The 4th? 4th?
4th is fine.
4th, it sounds like the 4th. Does anybody like to
What time?
make a motion to that effect?
What time?
At 7? Is that what we're going
We're
with?
going to allow our finance director and our clerk
What time would you like?
to summon us
We
here.
would like to start at 6. I will be here a couple hours,
Sounds
Sure.
good?
but
I wouldn't mind starting at 5:01.
I would say I can even do, I can
do 5 o'clock.
I can do 5.
5 work for you?
yeah.
Sooner the better.
Can 5 work for you, Perry?
I'm gonna have to give something up.
What day is the 4th? Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
You
The
can?
more I'm away from my business, the more money it costs me.
Okay.
Okay, so what time?
I prefer closer to 7 possible, because that's when we close.
Well, we can start it without you, and you can come along, you know. I hate to do that, but. Okay, what time, Mr. Clark?
Well, in deference to Barry's situation, I'd say let's compromise and go to 6 at least.
Mrs. Powell,
I agree.
6 or 5?
6 would be fine, 5, either one.
Miss, well, one or the other.
I can do 5, but we can certainly move to 6 if that is a conflict.
Mr. Rose,
If I understand this situation, okay,
5 or 6?
I'd say 5 or 6, but in all fairness, Perry, I'd probably say 6.
Okay. We know he's 6.
No opinion. I'm wide open.
6 work? Okay, the deal.
So you want a motion, Mr. Mayor?
We need that in a motion? Yes.
We set the budget workshop for May the 4th at 6 o'clock.
Second? May the 4th be with us?
I thought that's a Star Wars thing.
Either way, okay.
May the 4th be
Any
with
other
us?
discussion that of importance?
I had a comment more than a question. I remember last year during the budget discussion workshop, we had the workshop, and I wasn't the only one who felt this. We thought we were going to have another opportunity to bring more questions back for discussion. There was no more discussion. So we need to make sure that we have a clarity about what we're going to accomplish at the workshop so that we come to the meeting on May 11th, right? That we're ready to vote and not have more questions to ask.
There's a reason my staff wanted to do this earlier than later.
I appreciate that.
That's why. So, any other discussion for our workshop date of May 4th at 6 o'clock? Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Gross,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon,
Yes.
Ms. Powell.
Yes.
Ms. Hall votes yes, we have a date. You're smiling. Okay. So if we have any concerns or questions on budget items, we should submit them to you before that workshop?
Yes, please.
Everyone here? So
Even
vote-
if it's just, when do the bonds get paid off or whatever, so I can make sure I have that at the workshop.
For information, so she
And
can,
we have it. We have, I mean, she.
you have an audit, so
So,
you can look that up. We all have audits, but. if you
no,
have
but
any-
I'm saying we have the projected budget.
Correct.
Right,
Yes.
so we have
We can
like a
research
thing
and
to,
come back with.
Yep.
we should be able to ask intelligent questions.
So everyone read your budget, and if you have concerns or questions, circle it and have questions.
Will we know before then about the DDA funds?
I'm working on it. It's an incredibly complex topic, and I just don't have that much time, but I'm working on it.
I figured that may play something, that some of the money that's supposed to be DDA money is just sitting in general funds.
Well, there is no money from the DDA sitting in general funds. The only thing on the table at this point, from what I understand, this is council's prerogative, is the normal $1,500. The question before me that I'm working on is whether the DDA properly or improperly reset their tax base in the success of 2006 and whatever the Second Amendment date was for all the parcels. And then I can use that to track back and find out whether we're with a better base or a worse base, tax base, so that we can then move forward with the ordinance to reset the tax base eventually. We're actually getting close to parity, but there's no like additional or hidden money anywhere. That's what you're asking.
There's no fund setting there.
Well, no, I knew there wasn't a fund somewhere setting, but I was under the interpretation from a couple of the meetings that we talked about that there should have been TIF money coming from somewhere, but it wasn't coming.
Because it doesn't mean leverage.
I don't know about leveraging TIF money then, Ken. The only question that I'm aware of is whether the tax base was appropriately set and reset through these successions. Currently, the TIF district is underwater based on the numbers I have, and that's what I'm working on. I don't know what we're talking about with leverage money or.
Well, I was talking about the tax base, on the recalculating. Like, isn't there an amount of millage that the DDA could leverage if they vote to do that, but they haven't
Not
voted to
leverage,
do?
that would be a
Okay.
public vote.
Oh, what's the term?
It would be a
Shouldn't
village,
we-
I believe, but it would be a public vote millage.
Okay,
That's a funding option.
okay.
Sorry, Mr.
No, I was just under the
So-
interpretation from a couple of the meetings that we was talking about, they were supposed to be drawing or whatever the money comes from, that the DDA is supposed to get from that TIF money or from.
Well, that is the normal funding function of the TIF district. The problem is, okay, so
The TIF is
we have
underwater.
3 TIF districts, and when they're initially established, they say tax base level. Now, my current understanding is that all 3 of them are underwater, and that's why they're not producing any money. The only thing I'm looking at is to see whether those districts reset any of the previous parcels and whether it has changed the tax base level.
Like when they were sold, are they worth more money?
You can see why this is a complex task. I haven't had time to really
It's not
get
an
into
easy
it.
fix, right, you know.
But this might be one of those issues that just might not get into this year's budget because it's so complex. So what I'll probably recommend is we do the $1,500, and we've discussed previously any money that was left over from this year's budget, we asked council to add on top of the $1,500 donation. But, and Ms. Falcon can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, it doesn't really matter for this year. We'd have to wait until next year's taxes anyway to reflect anything from the TIF district, no matter what. So I understand what you're saying, but it's kind of putting me under the gun for no good reason.
I was not trying to put it under the gun, I just.
I get that you're trying to understand, but there's nothing I can do between now and next tax year that will change what's happening anyways.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, there was not a motion made to set a public hearing.
Oh, I would like to make a motion to set you need a public
For
hearing?
May 11th.
May
The
11th,
the public hearing for the budget for May 11th at the regular city council meeting.
Second.
okay, moved and second to set the public hearing for May 11th council meeting. Any further discussion? Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins.
Yes.
Mrs. Dixon,
Yes.
Mrs. Powell.
Yes.
Mayor Hall votes yes. I was going to ask that, but we got in another discussion. Okay, moving on to E, motion to approve an amendment in the license and development agreement for vegetation and walk path. Mr. Womack.
I have this listed as letter F. This is something we've talked about on a number of occasions. I don't think it was ever actually passed by motion. This is a amendment to the license and development agreement to allow the CDBG to do vegetation and brush clearing on the property north of the creek that they recently donated to the city. And it just amends the license and development agreement that they currently have.
I would like to make a motion to approve the amendment to license and development agreement, vegetation and walking path.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clark,
Yes.
Mrs. Conley,
Yes.
Mr. Groves,
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins,
Yes.
Ms. Nixon?
Yes.
Ms. Powell?
Yes?
Mr. Hall votes yes. Motion carries. In this portion of the agenda, we move on to communications.
I apologize, I did add an action item G.
Oh, yeah.
Main Street.
Oh,
Professional
right.
Services Agreement.
Main Street Planning and Professional Services
Oh, okay.
Agreement.
Mr.
So if I may speak to that.
Speak to that, please.
I did have a discussion with Mr. Avancini the other day and informed him that the city wanted to move into a new direction with their planning services. Mr. Avancini has been very professional. He's been very good at his job. He's led the city for, I believe, 10 years. But I just thought it was appropriate at this time we move to a new planning service, and we wish him the best. You'll see in your packet, I did include the professional services agreement, and along with it, a brochure for who I hope will be the new planning service, Mr. Johnson, who runs Main Street Planning out of Rockford. He becomes highly regarded, and he does the planning services for the village of Sparta, amongst many other municipalities. So I believe the professional service agreement is very fair. It's been run past our city attorney, and I've asked that you approve and adopt it.
Will of the council.
Should we make a motion?
I would need a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to agree to the services of the Main Street Planning Professional. His name is, do we need his name?
Mr. Tim Johnson.
Mr. Tim Johnson.
Second.
Then moved and seconded to appoint Main Street as our planner. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Ms. Conley?
Yes.
Mr. Groves?
Yes.
Mr. Hopkins?
Yes.
Mrs. Nixon?
Yes.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes.
Ms. Hall votes yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to communication. We have a communication from several things here. The Historical Society Museum letter, the reconstruction of US 131 project. I did go to that meeting at the school, very informal. And
It needs it.
yeah, and that's going to cause some real heartburn and indigestion for a lot of people, but
When does it start?
this week.
I think it's already underway.
It's not as bad as the Michigan Street project that's going on right now at the moment here.
Signs are up on Bright Creek.
Yep, they're all up, so read the signs and heed. Any discussion on any of the communication items?
I would like to point out letter C, the Canon Medical Group. I've had a dozen at least communications with medical marijuana groups. This will be a hot issue between now and December, and I will be bringing it back. I'm trying to provide you as much information as possible. The Canon Medical Group did provide me with the Crockery Township ordinance. Primarily, most of these groups want to open up a retail store that would sell the actual product. I believe this group wanted us to consider allowing a growth operation, and that's what I understand this Crockery Township ordinance would permit. So I just want to point that out, and that we will have ongoing discussions right through December.
Does anyone remember us having a conversation, this was under Chris Byrne, about an ordinance?
We do have an ordinance on the book that specifically prohibits medical marijuana.
So I swear that's not what I remember we did, but all right.
I know there's something to do with, 'cause I remember somebody that's a big advocate of it coming in my teach. I wasn't involved in council at that time, but he was not happy with the ordinance that was put forth.
And I think I'm the only one on council that was there at the time. And it was probably after you retired, so you weren't working for the city.
We can look into it.
We can come up with it from scratch. It's not I swear there was stuff.
Well,
Does this ring any bells, Marty?
evidently it was in the post, so you may be able to get the post to go back and look at if you have when the ordinance was in place. You can
No,
see
it's not
what
in the
was.
charter.
What was in the post at that time?
Right,
They do
and
keep
it's
all
not
their.
there.
Mhm.
Well, and for what it's worth, I actually really, really enjoy writing ordinances.
That's fine, yeah.
So I will.
I'm not sure if you're being facetious right now.
He's not.
I'm an attorney, and this is kind of
10-4.
I like.
All right.
So, that,
Let's relax with
One at a
knitting.
time, please.
He relaxes by writing ordinances.
so, based on what council has to tell me and what their will is, I will draft a proposed draft ordinance and we'll vote on it before I think December 15th.
Do you need some kind of,
If you need any input,
We'll discuss it moving forward.
okay.
moving forward, if you have input you wish him to discuss, talk with the manager on this agenda. Any other discussions on the communication? Hearing none, we'll move on to the department reports.
So as I teased before, I will be on vacation between April 21st and 26th.
Well reserved,
And as you all know, I will be hanging out with Mickey Mouse.
and his wife.
I did attach the farmer market draft rules that I've been working on with Mr. Ringler. We're mostly on the same page. There's only a few minor details we have to work out. And that's mostly to do with what state law says about what products can and can't be sold at a farmer's market. But I do have a treat for you guys. And this is 99% Mr. Stressman, so thank you, Mr. Stressman.
Thanks, Tom.
So, Mr. Stressman was able to put together a sign for us.
Oh, pretty, pretty.
Yay.
So we got two of these, and they will be put up at the Legacy Park Nature Preserve, which is the park that we approved of recently, the last
Next
week
month.
perhaps.
After many names being submitted.
Smush it.
And a special committee meeting, and then the committee chair losing the minutes in the list of names, and then finding them finally, and
So I know you guys all like to have get-togethers and this kind of thing, but I thought maybe we'd see if we get a couple counselors together, go out, install the sign, take a couple pictures. And
Wear your boots.
I also heard a rumor that the Park Place Bratz Dogs, which is a hot dog eatery, might be opening this weekend.
okay.
So I may attempt to put together a field trip like we did for the Bigby
Okay.
and see about getting some hot dogs together.
I'm gonna be out of town Saturday.
No, you weren't invited anyways.
Okay. I'm just saying if it can be Friday or
We will work with everybody's schedule, and I will take you with me and you if you want to.
well, I
I will similarly
Do they
be
want-
chasing the large largamorph, whatever it is,
Yeah.
farm.
A what now?
A largamorph?
the
A rabbit.
Legomorph. It's
Oh, is
the
it?
yeah.
I don't know, I butchered it, so no wonder you.
Yeah,
rabbit.
Morgan, like this.
It's a Reddit.
Okay,
It's
anyways.
the technical term for a Reddit.
Moving on.
Dude, that's all I got for you guys, thank you.
Department reports, Department of Public Works, any questions of Mr. Trustman?
I just have one thing to add, is number 4 well had some mechanical issues, and unfortunately happened to be in the bowl, which is at the bottom of the well. And
Pull it.
it has been rebuilt too many times, so we had to actually get a new one, which they installed today. The well will be back online probably Tuesday after sampling's done. Cost is right around $20,000.
That's pretty reasonable.
Was it budgeted? No.
That's
Okay.
reasonable.
Well-
To replace that, to pull it, there's 90 feet of pipe and column there, and that bowl is not cheap. That's the heart of that pump.
I believe it.
Good job. Sheriff's Department, Officer Keller.
I have nothing additional. Other than from the report.
Chief Fraser.
I've been told that I've burnt my allotment for the next 6 months. I will keep it very brief. If there's any questions,
But you had visual aids.
Demonstrations. And spaghetti.
Yeah.
oh, I don't know if I can eat that much spaghetti to build that.
We can't either.
We'll figure it out.
I'll try.
Madam Clerk.
I have many things to report, that I provided you guys in my report. On new news, today it has been released in the press release that Kent County will be going with the Dominion election, software. Just so you guys are aware of that.
And it's not costing us.
It's not costing us for the physical equipment, but there will be other charges that we will be responsible
Yeah.
for with that company.
The new modern system. Talking to our finance director with all the money.
I have nothing further unless there's questions.
Any questions of Mrs. Halter? I'd like to congratulate you and your husband on your husband being appointed as village manager for
Yes,
Howard City.
congratulations.
Bravo, bravo.
Welcome to the Flatlanders Club. We have code enforcement and building inspections and any of the boards and commission minutes. The CDBG, the Grand Valley Metro Council, and the library board. Any other further questions or business to be brought before the council before I go into council comments?
Mayor Holmer, I did forget one thing in my report real quick. I would like to take the opportunity to publicly acknowledge the donations and fundraisers that we went through to obtain the Lucas. I wanted to publicly thank a couple people in particular, but they wish to remain anonymous, so it will be done privately. And I'd just like to go on record saying it's very, very, very much appreciated, and it just amazes me the community support that we have in this community.
You know, it comes down to the fire department. You guys have a great amount of public support in this community. You guys do a great job.
I would have to go back quite a few years, and I joined in 1977, and I know Jerry joined a couple of years later, and the foundation was laid well before we were there, so
It's a brotherhood.
we just carried on the tradition, and hopefully.
Would you like me to tell you how old I was in 1977?
No.
Would you like to hear how old I was then?
You weren't even born. Mr. Cumberland and I. Which
I was born.
Thank you.
When we were,
Take that moment to thank publicly the people involved.
some history there, Fireman Fraser at that time lived next door, and we were in the old library. And it was erased, and it very rarely happened that somebody ever beat him to the truck. And inside, if you ever a fireman and you wanted somebody to run a truck, it was Marty Fraser. Any other, you know, we would look to see who was running the truck. And if Marty was on there, you knew you were safe inside. And thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing worse than being in a burning building, full of smoke, and you don't have any water pressure.
Been there, done that.
I've had great mentors over the years and co-workers.
We've had some really good firemen. Those were the good old days.
Back when we had beer and refrigerator.
So Bob Towns back in there and smashed it. We won't go there.
Those towns, they're tricky folks.
You're on the other side of that town stand.
She is, isn't
She used to towns, yeah.
Council
We're on
comments.
YouTube, yeah.
Council comments. Mr. Clark.
Well, I know if my wife were here, and she will have opportunity to say this over and over, it's just a wonderful thing to be in the new library, and I know some of you maybe have been able to go through it as it is. It's going to be a wonderful facility for the community, and I think something we'll be able to be proud of for decades.
Ms. Powell.
The gala is Saturday for whoever's going, and there's going to be tours of the library earlier from like 4:30 on to when the gala starts. So that's pretty exciting. And I missed everybody while I was gone, believe it or not. And I really got to see that I never had to fully depend on that video before to see what was going on. And I'm just so happy that we had that, because you just can't get the whole meeting by the minutes. It's very important, and I'm glad we have it. And I think other people really benefit from it.
It has been a good class.
Yes.
Ms. Conlon.
Hooray on the library, this is very exciting. And who would we make a check out to? Well, we have for the little libraries, the Cedar Springs
The library.
Library, but for the the building fund that's happening Saturday, is that community building
Yeah,
development
that's the
team?
community building development team.
Okay, so you would make a check out to the community building development team for that amount of money, if you are looking for the funding going forward to support the library fund, because they're hoping to be able to have running funds for the library to support it for 3 years. Is that my understanding? So that would be an option that people could do as well. And please remember to show up and vote on May 2nd, because we will have not another meeting before that.
Are we voting yes or no?
What?
Sorry, that was a joke.
Okay.
Not influencing anybody.
I was going to say, I think I'm not allowed to say that.
I think what he really means, are you voting or are you not voting? Right.
Sure.
I always vote. My grandmother was born without the right to vote in 1903.
Anything else?
And if there's a vote, I am there.
Okay.
So remember to show up and vote.
Mr. Gross.
We've covered pretty much everything. Again, welcome your husband to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
It might be convenient for you and kids also to see each other more often. Hope they weren't delayed too long at the bridge, because I heard they were on a visit coming down. Welcome to the neighborhood. Hopefully you settle closer to Cedar than you do to Howard City. So it would be nice to have you in the neighborhood. Good things happening.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Mr. Hopkins.
Well, a lot of things happening, like Rose said, galas on Saturday, tour through the library. Then next week we got community night on Thursday. Then we got the Earth Day cleanup on Saturday.
Yep.
So bring your bags and your boots and gloves
Be there.
and be there. Just thank everybody for all the things they do, making things happen. People keeping us safe. Well, I'm glad I ain't never had to use their services, but Tom for all his guys, what they do. They kept a pretty clean snow streak. No snow on the streets.
Shoot, they even warmed it up to like 50 degrees.
They're getting
I mean,
pretty
that's
good.
stellar work.
I did that.
He's going out with a bang.
And any other? Nixon.
Well, I'd like to, I'd like to thank Mr. Womack for his outstanding policy writing. And I feel bad that we didn't pass it, because you clearly put so much work into it, and I appreciate that.
I'll write many that you will pass on.
All right, good, it's a deal. That's all I got.
Want to remind everybody, we have community night coming up, and the city will be having a booth there, so if you are available, come see us.
That's Thursday the 20th.
20th, Thursday evening, 20th at the school.
Do you need some of us there?
I'll be there, so we'll have our booth set up, so stop in and visit and meet and greet.
Time is,
Well, it's set up as at
7.
4:30, but actually it's officially 6 to 8:30.
Yep. So, if you can make it there, come on down. With me and, I don't know who all else is going to be there, but,
I'll try to be there.
you know, there's a lot of great things happening in town. There's a lot of exciting things coming down the pike yet to come. We've had many meetings in the past 2 weeks, and things are looking pretty exciting. So, thanks for all your hard work on the budget and stuff, and there's a lot of work there, and I see you're finding a lot of shortcomings and miscomings that we'll have to address and correct for our next budget amendment coming up. Thank all for their work. Thanks, Marty. You're welcome. I did beat you once to the truck.
Did you tripping?
Well,
Just
real quick, it was 6 months before they give me a pay, so they had a little bit of advantage.
Did you sleep with the window open and your head out the window?
We catch him coming out of the house getting dressed as he was coming, but he made it. On that, any other business? Meeting stands adjourned.
All right.